What is up, everybody? My name is Spec, and I am the current world record holder for the all day stages category, as well as world record holder for every single individual day level, except Windmill Isle 1. It's not my cup of tea. We'll get into that once we get there. But I wanted to create a commentated and low optimized tool assisted demonstration tutorial for every single all day stage in order to provide guidance for anyone who may be interested in running the game themselves, as well as give a couple shortcuts to anyone stuck on missing S ranks for a particular day level, as ranking is solely determined by time, because that's good game design. But in this, I will break down the tech and movement options experienced runners use. And to achieve a cohesive run that demonstrates everything I want to showcase, I decided to use save states in each level and splice them together to show more or less what a perfect or humanly good executed run looks like. My philosophy in running is not to aim for world record, but to aim to succeed in everything you intend to do with the character you're controlling, and to demonstrate proficiency and, given enough time, mastery in a game. Before we begin, I want to give some credit to the Cryptic Jackknife, Aglib, and Handpin, who have torn this game to pieces and been an incredible help in understanding this game in its depth. I also want to give credit to KinoPlat, a very underappreciated speedrunner in my opinion, for being an amazing mod for the game, as well as being an inspiration for me to keep lowering times with some healthy and friendly competition. So with all that said, let's get started. So the first stage we're going to tackle is Eggmanland. As many of you know who have played this game, this stage is incredibly difficult, but there is a consistent and reliable way to beat the stage in under 3 minutes. Now, when starting every level, we're going to want to hit the boost button right when start comes onto the screen to not only reach top speed at the start, but also fill up a single bar of our boost gauge. Boost in this game is quite unique to the other Sonic games in that it behaves more like a nitro tank in old arcade racing games rather than a continuous boost you have full control over. This means boost management and timing is incredibly crucial, because if you don't have a full bar, you don't have any boost to use. So after we exit our spin dash, we're going to be actionable and we're going to immediately boost. Make sure you press boost as soon as you're actionable, because if you're late, you'll do a light speed dash through the rings. Quick step to the left, as I have here, after getting the rings, as quick stepping before drifting helps in taking tighter turns, and for sharp corners in particular, it's immeasurably helpful. So we're going to drift with these dash panels, and then we're going to boost. And make sure we're not getting more of that light speed dash in those rings in front of us there. When Sonic is in boost state, his direction is determined, and the only way to really meaningfully alter that is with drift. So we're going to be using drift across all the day stages. It's probably the most precise way to control Sonic. So now we're going to maneuver here around this spring that's ahead of us by going to the left or the right, depends on your fancy. Left is easier for me. And we're going to jump from that little lip of the platform there. We're going to jump and boost across that gap. Saves us taking an action chain in a ring, which saves us a lot of time. Do some nice maneuvering here, drift, boost, and we're going to jump across this gap. 1, 2. We're going to go into this dash panel. Now, boosting in this dash panel is fine, but it's the second one here that really matters. You want to make sure that you find yourself lining up on the center dash panel. The center dash panel is super important because for some reason, I don't know why that is, the game slows you down to try to lock you into center because you're transitioning from a 3D state to a 2D state. And so if you're not dead center, it's going to slow you down. We need to be at top speed for this next section. And so we're going to hit this rail at top speed here, which is super nice. Because when we hit it at top speed, it gets us faster on this Ferris wheel cycle. And you'll see here to the bottom right that I got a prompt to homing attack this pole or this carriage thing, whatever. Don't take that one. Do not homing attack that. Instead, wait a second, because with the top speed and hitting that spring, we actually get launched a little bit higher with a better cycle, which allows us to homing attack this top one up here. We're going to swing. It's going to give us a prompt again, as you saw for a second there, that one at the bottom. Wait a second, homing attack this one instead. Do the action chain. We're going to homing attack the pulley, stomp, boost, and we're going to go through this action chain. Now watch my analog stick here. My analog stick is very important because this is one of the very few stages that we're actually going to be holding analog movement, analog direction during 2D sections. During 2D sections, if you hold an analog direction, it actually causes friction. And it's something that slows Sonic down. So usually in 2D sections, we're usually not going to hold an analog direction. But for this stage in particular, it makes things a lot easier. It makes some tricks easier. And for this section right here, where I jump off this rail, it allows us to actually homing attack these bad nicks. So I'm going to homing attack that 1, 2, 3, do a light speed dash. That actually impacts our camera as well. If you miss that, it's going to really mess up your camera and they make this trick incredibly difficult or near impossible because it usually locks you down to the rail. It doesn't let you jump until like the very end. It's not unsalvageable, but doing bobsled skip here in a second saves about 5 seconds. So we're going to jump from this line right here. And when we jump, we're going to do a full hop jump. So we're going to be holding jump for as long as we can. As long as we're rising in the air, we're going to be holding the jump button and we're going to boost. Or we're going to boost and then jump, sorry. And if we do it right, our boost is going to get canceled. That's not because we're holding in an analog direction. We're still holding right through the entire time. And once you get maximum height and you get reached right there, right where I'm in front of that tent, I guess, that's when I usually boost. That's my visual cue. So I can skip the bobsled section, go right here, and we just do some nice maneuvering to get through the rest of this section here. This is actually the bobsled section, but we're running through it instead. Make sure you avoid those dash panels. They actually are speed cap. What I did was that I sidestepped around them and I stomped with a boost, so it got me a little bit further. But a safer way to do that, if you're scared of messing up or falling, you could just easily jump and stomp as well. Now during this chaser fight, we're going to be attacking by boosting and running away as well. And the fastest way to do this is by using what's called QSS, quick step spam. We're going to be spamming quick step all across these stages here because quick step is actually faster than vanilla boost running and vanilla running in general. So we're always going to be wanting to opt in to QSS. With non-optimal QSS, this section is about 1 minute and 3. With optimal QSS, it ranges from 58 seconds to 1 minute split. And which really does lead to the argument of what controller you should use. I would definitely recommend, if you're running on console, I would recommend using a Classic or Classic Pro controller. I would not recommend using a GameCube controller because it's much harder on your hands. It really actually hurt your hands. So I wouldn't recommend that. If you're running on emulator, I definitely would recommend a PS4 controller. That's what I use. It's super nice on your hands. It hardly ever hurts. But now right here, I'm going to be demonstrating a tech known as Boost Buffer. Sorry, not Buster. If you've played the HD version of the game, you'll know that UnWiished is unique and that it's mapped the homing attack button to the boost button, whereas in every other Sonic game, they usually map it to the jump button. Well, Sonic Unleashed for the Wii version tried to have it both ways and decided to map it to both buttons. And it actually allows us to do what's known as Boost Buffer. If you hold the jump button and press boost, instead of doing a homing attack, we trick the game into locking us out of the homing attack action since that action is technically already being done. And so instead we do a boost. The way that I do this, because of the classic controller's layout, and I like that layout, is by using my index finger to press boost while my thumb holds the jump button. If you do a boost buffer here, you can actually boost through the badniks to the spring here. But getting the action chain is inconsistent. I don't know why it is. I think it has something to do with timing and Sonic's rotation. But either way, all that means is that you can't be as liberal with your boost into this 2D section. I start out not holding analog movement, but you can quickly see with the input viewer that I do go back to holding to the right here so I can do that wall jump. And so now when we get to this part, we want to make sure that we at least have 3 filled boost gauges. And here's why. We're going to be using the first one here to go through this and get through that top speed dash panel, get the spin dash state. And now we're going to be performing probably the scariest trick in the game, egg warp. Egg warp is terrifying because missing it means you'll die, which dying honestly isn't the worst thing on this stage, especially with egg warp, especially if you do it right. But it does eat away RTA time. And if you really bungle it up, you'll actually be sent back to before the QTE section with no boost. I will, however, make the claim that despite it being scary, it's not that hard to perform, especially if you spend some time in Dolphin practicing the timing with save states. However, you could just take the 2D section ahead as intended, but that's going to lose you about 4 to 5 seconds. And if your intent is to get a sub 3, as mine usually is, then that's going to lock you out of that. So if you're wanting to go for sub 3, this is the hard path you're going to have to take. Now, we're going to take that first QTE panel, do it as normal. Now here, you saw how it went red and went away. That means I failed it. I pressed the wrong button. You can fail it by doing with any button but the boost button. The game does not like it, or sometimes doesn't like it, whenever we try to do that with the boost button, and it can really throw off your timing. So instead, I usually press B, or in this case, I pressed cross or X, so that we can fail the second one. During this trick though, hold directly forward and wait until Sonic's body lines up right there. You see how it lines up with the very end of this like pipe here to my left? That's when we're wanting to boost. It looks fast, but it's actually, I think the hardest part about it for me is being patient to wait him to fall to that point. Honestly, being late is better, I would say. I wouldn't encourage it, because when you're late, you're still going to go through the wall, and you won't land onto this really thin section. You'll probably die, but instead you'll pass a checkpoint and you'll be fine. Doing it early though really does screw you. So make sure that if you're doing this, you're trying to go for it. I would definitely say don't try to go early. Going a little late is fine. I'm actually a little late here, so my angle's a little bad. Ideally, I would hold forward the whole entire time, but because I saw my angle and because I'm really experienced with this trick, instead what I did was I adjusted my stick a little bit up and to the left. And when I start my stomp here, which is as soon as I can, I'm holding up and to the left, which is fine. When we're up in the air and we're boosting, if we're not holding directly forward, we actually lose a little bit of speed. So what I usually do is try to hold directly forward, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. We're going to hold up and left, and then we're going to stomp down, and I'm actually going to hold to the right. And you're going to notice as I'm going right, Sonic's still facing left because he's in this stomp. And also Sonic does not know what's happening. I don't think they intend, I mean, obviously they did not intend for this to happen. I don't think Sonic is aware of what's going on. And so he actually falls off this edge here, and we're going to jump, and we're going to hold directly forward. You don't want to hold left. And the reason why we're jumping and homing attacking is because there's actually a 2D trigger on that dash panel. We want to jump around it because we want to avoid being locked into 2D. And it's really slow. And so we're going to homing attack and try to line yourself up with this incline here and boost up, jump. And then I actually went a little bit too far to the right, so I hold up and left. But if you do it right, you just really need to hold up and like very slight left. And we're going to be in the air here and stomp onto the rocket. Nearly made it. Now, something I want to keep in mind is that is your boost gauge. When you're at this point, you can see that my boost gauge right here, I only have 1 bar full. And going into this next section, we really need to have a full boost gauge. And so we're going to try to get as many rings as we can going through this rocket section here by collecting all these rings. It doesn't look as hard, but I promise it's actually kind of difficult. And then right here at the end of this rail, we're going to boost. And then we're going to perform our first break. So after that, that trail of rings, I'm going to hold. You can see here on the input display, I actually hold back for a couple frames on the control stick, which allows me to boost again immediately afterwards. It cancels our boost and it allows us to do some positioning things. Allows us to hit dash panels, and also really whenever we're out of boost, it puts us in more advantageous places. So keep that in mind. That's our first instance. If I say break from here on, that's usually what we're going to do. And we're going to get a full meaty boost to the dash panel and cancel it again to drift right over here. And on this turn, we're going to do a short hop, and I hold hard left, as you can see on the input display, and I stomp. Now, when that happens, it actually makes Sonic just turn straight left. It allows us to boost in this dash panel here. I only use it on that turn. I can't really think of any other place where that would be useful. I think maybe Spagonia, but I think the curve is too wide for that. But maybe some testing I can do later. But I do that stop there. I boost into the dash panel, and I boost again one more time. Now here on, I'm not going to boost again because, as you can see, Sonic just did a little bounce there. This pipe is actually not flush with that previous section I was on with the dash panels. And so boosting there can kill you. So I wait a sec, boost, jump over that robot to make sure I don't get hit by the rockets, delay a second, and I dash or boost through these dash panels, stomp, jump, and I jump over that jump pad or bounce pad. And I wait a second to get these rings here because one, I like consistency. So even though I'm losing time, it saves my boost gauge a lot. And also it's just a lot easier to manage that section, a little landing without being in boost. So I just opt to be at full run speed. And then I boost here, go through this 2D or this quick step section. Then I'm going to jump over this, that spring there. And instead of holding forward, because if I did that, you see this little gap here in that little robot turret guy, I would die. So I hold a little bit up to the right and then break. I wait for this hammer to get out of my way, boost again. And then right as I get to this last ring right here, the second ring or the second to last ring, this last ring and the second to last ring, I'm going to do a jump. This looks really scary, but it's really not, I promise. You just jump and hold forward, or hold up into the right, and you're going to land on there, and then move your stick to the left while you're still boosting this whole entire time. And then you'll be able to homing attack across the gap, homing attack, jump, boost, and then boom, we just finished Eggmanland in underneath 3 minutes. Kind of easy, right? And now we're going to be moving on to the next stage. Now, moving on to Holoska or Cool Edge, we start the stage like every other with a perfect start and immediately boost into the bobsled. Now, the bobsled controls are incredibly stiff, but they are consistent. Just try to imitate the analog movements I'm doing. If you need to make a tight adjustment, you can usually hold back in the direction you want to go. The only part that really sucks about that is in gaining that precision, and that it loses you time because holding forward, or really directly any direction you're going, makes you go faster. A perfect bobsled is around like a low 49, but I would say anything ranging from a 50 to 52 isn't really that bad, especially if you're just getting started. Really the most important thing to get a fast bobsled, quote unquote, is to make sure you're taking good lines. And I'm going to be holding analog direction this whole entire time. I'm kind of saying caution to the wind on boost management, and that is until I get to the 2D section. I'm now neutral stick. I'm not going to be holding any direction, because when you're in the bobsled and we're going here, not holding a direction still makes the bobsled go. It's kind of scripted. And so when we do hold an analog direction, again, it causes friction, which slows us down. And then as we go through this section, just copy these boost timings that I'm doing. Nothing's that complicated in this level. I think it's one of the reasons why I like having it as my second split. I've since moved it to my first split, but that's for menuing purposes. But it's a really simple and easy stage. Now we're going to boost here, jump across, boost, and now we're going to do the quintessential tech of Sonic Unleashed for the Wii, which is known as RSG, Rail Speed Glitch. When we jump off a rail, we actually bypass a speed cap, allowing us to have rail speed while we're sliding on the ground. I don't know why this is. So we're going to jump off this rail here, and we're going to stomp and slide, and we're going to go really fast. We're going to jump, stomp down, and make sure you hold stomp as we get onto this rail. The reason why is because right here at this curve, on this little bend here, we can actually do a jump while we're holding stomp, and we can break out of this dimension. Now, if we do it too early, we actually jump into like a void of nothingness, and there's no kill plane there because it does not expect us to be there. So you just fall for infinity for the rest of your life, and you're gonna have to reset. So instead, wait a second, wait till you get down this little curve here. It's better to be late than anything, because one, if you're late, maybe you'll die, but it's a good enough checkpoint. It's not gonna be that punishing for in-game time stuff. But also, if you don't get this bounce here on the Badnik's head, that's fine. You can still hold down slide and slide underneath them. Boost, slide over here, jump, and then we're gonna stomp down, do a jump, and then boost buffer through these enemies, slide. Don't stomp just yet. If you stomp on that, actually, stomp on that dash panel, you'll actually get launched and hit a wall, and it's super slow. So don't press slide just yet, but as you're coming down that incline, slide until you get into flat land, boost, no analog direction until we hit that dash panel right there. We're gonna hold left and then move to the right. We're gonna do some tight navigating around the icicles here that are dropping from the sky, because you know, that's what happens when you're in a cave. And then we're just going to go around here. I actually messed up this movement here. I don't know what I got bounced off of, but from here on, it's pretty much just self-explanatory movement. Boost through here, do a break, stomp, boost. I do a jump over this ledge here. You can actually do a sidestep to the right of it, but I like to play it safe there because it doesn't cost or save that much time. I do a break here with that trail of rings because I just am super used to that boost timing from when I was practicing the stage way back when. And now we're going to do a drift here off that rail. And you're noticing, if you look at my display here, my input display, I'm holding hard to the right. And that's because the way that this rail puts us off is pretty bad. It's really bad. So instead of going, slamming into the wall, I hold directly to the right and I boost. And I still hit the wall and it cancels my boost, but it's totally fine. It costs me like not even a second because we're going to boost right again. We're going to jump off here, hit that Badnik, bounce off of it, and stomp onto the rail. Now, right about here, we're going to be holding stomp just like we were on the last rail. You can see I'm already clicking the A button or the X button here. And I'm going to do a really light hop, as light as you possibly can. I usually overshoot it because I get scared. If you mess it up, it makes you do the loop. And because I'm an ILer, in my core of being, I hate resetting more than anything. So I definitely play it more safe than sorry, in a lot of cases. But anyway, but you can actually take it light enough here to land in that dash panel that's below me, but instead I just opt to take a light one. I'm still at full speed, so it's totally fine. Do another boost, break, homing attack, and stop. And then we're going to boost all the way through to the end, do a nice drift, boost into those dash panels. That's actually a lot harder than it looks, but with enough practice, you'll get it. And boom, that's it. That's a cool edge. Pretty simple stage. A perfect run, I think, is around a 227, 226. But a 230, low 230s, really, especially if you're beginning, I wasn't getting times beneath like 236 until I was really getting into all day stages itself. So a low 30 is really good for ADS or any percent run. But with all that said, now we're going to move on to Arid Sands. So we're going to begin Arid Sands with a perfect start and boost, just like every other stage. We're going to aim Sonic to the very left dash panel here. I don't think I actually got it. I think I hit the center one, which is fine. But the left one allows us to do a drift here that's super tight and nice. I still do it because I wasn't really thinking while I was doing this. I was kind of just going off of muscle memory because I wanted to make sure I'm showcasing my best for the most part. And so I just went with that. But the most consistent way to get a good boost and to get a boost bonus here, the drift bonus, is by making sure that we hit the leftmost dash panel. But in this next dash panel, we're just going to run through it, and we're going to drift again to get another drift bonus, have the boost gauge filled up, and we're going to boost through this section. Now right here, we are at top speed, and your temptation is going to be, yes, I want to be at top speed still, I'm going to boost again. When we're at top speed, whenever we do a jump, we actually enter spin dash form, and that makes us inactionable. So we're actually going to wait just like a quarter of a second, maybe even less than that, before boosting again to jump and boost over this gap right here. As I did right there, we're going to hit that bounce pad, and from here on, it's pretty much just following my movement and just copying my drift. This stage was a lot of people's favorites because the movement is incredibly straightforward and the tricks aren't all that difficult. So I will come back in whenever I need to. Now on this ramp right here, I'm boosting. I'm going to do a break because if I were to hit this dash panel at boost, I'll be entering into top speed. And just like before, like I said, you'd be inactionable in the spin dash form, and you can actually overshoot on this ledge here. We don't want to do that. So instead I break, hit the dash panel, stop immediately, and boost again. Do a sidestep to take that turn quick and go around here. And I do one more dash, or one more boost again. And now we're going to be jumping from this bush right around there. Like, yeah, I'm a little late on this pause, but it's fine. But we're going to jump here. You can do, instead of jumping here, this is a bit riskier, I would say, because you could do it too early and just fall. I mean, it's not going to kill you, but it would take some time sink for sure. Instead, what you could do is homing attack the first two enemies or first bagneck. You can actually do it with just the first one, but two if you're wanting to be safe. And then you can just boost buffer through the third one. That's also an option. It takes a little bit of time, but it doesn't really matter that much. So this whole entire time, now more than ever, do not touch the stick. Do not touch the control stick. I am begging you. It will make your life so hard. We're going to do a boost buffer past this third badnik. The way that we do this and land on the rail is make sure you're not spamming boost buffer after that second homing attack. Make sure instead that you wait just like a quarter of a second, because if you don't, you're not going to be at the top height of your homing attack animation. And so you'll actually not be able to hit the rail. And even though I still hit the rail because I wasn't high enough, I still did it early and actually canceled my boost. So an ideal one would keep your boost going, but we want to keep this one boost gauge going into this section. Now, see how these like badniks are like falling down? It's really cool of a set piece, right? Well, during this, you can see right there's the reticle that I'm able to actually homing attack the second one instead of just the first one. And I don't need to hold any analog direction for that. If you're quick enough and you're able to react to that reticle, you can skip that first badnik, and it saves, I would say, a whole entire second. So we're going to go through this whole entire action chain, boost through the ring, because this action chain is going to give us a lot of boost gauge fill. And again, neutral stick. This right here more than ever is so important. We're going to actually buffer a slide by when we get out of that rainbow ring, we're going to press the stomp input and we're just going to hold it down. And once the stomp comes out, or once the slide comes out when we land, let go of the slide button. You'll stay sliding. It's totally fine. And we're going to come over here, neutral stick, jump off that ramp right there. And we can actually boost into the dash panel. Now keep that neutral stick still. I'm going to say it a bajillion times because I know you're going to hear it and you're going to say, Spec, I know, neutral stick, I get it. But when you're going to play this game and you're going to realize, oh my God, what if Sonic messes up? What if he doesn't listen to me? And then you'll hold forward and you'll die. So I'm just saying this out of your own good. I promise I'm not trying to be patronizing. But being here at top speed with a neutral stick allows you to jump over these badniks here. They're on a cycle. So let's say you didn't have perfect execution like this with, again, with save states. Like this isn't me just being good. Like this is with save states. I'm not this good, I promise. But let's say you get there a little bit late. They could be on a cycle where they're electric badniks. So they'll turn on their electricity and they can shock you and it will actually knock you off the route. There's no way to keep going from that. So it's really, really important that you have a neutral stick there to make sure that you don't hit the electricity. Then we're going to buffer again, stomp. Buffer that stomp when you go through the ring. Don't you do it before, because you actually can stomp before that rainbow ring and it'll put you on a different path and cost you like 7 seconds. So wait for a sec, stomp, boost as soon as you can, boost off this ramp, and then we're going to stomp again, do a couple side steps to avoid those pillars. And now on this section, there's actually a way to get through it pretty safe. You can take the homing attack action chain here. It's totally fine, super easy to do. But what I like to do is just this faster route of just jumping, boosting and jumping onto it. And okay, and right here before these dash panels, you may be like, this is a great time to start QSSing and get a little bit of time save. And you're not wrong if you watch the TASs. I'm going to link down in the description below other runs that are maybe better than mine, especially the TASs, maybe to give you some inspiration if you're really interested in optimizing these games. But anyway, but instead of doing quick step spam here, if you try to do quick step spam, what's going to happen is that's going to mess up your camera. So I definitely do not recommend doing that at all, especially in this next section here, because in this next section, when we go through it, it's really narrow. And we're going to come to this next QTE section. And once again, we're going to fail the QTE, but instead of waiting, we're going to spam boost so that when we can get it, we can get the boost as soon as possible so we can actually boost in this cave. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just do the QTE like normal, but it does save a bit of time. And I'm not going to boost through this dash panel because I'm going to homing attack that spring there, or that bounce pad. And I'm going to spam homing attack like my life depends on it, because I want to make sure that I'm missing this first badnik. I'm homing attacking the badnik that's furthest from me, because the reticle, because it's more even with my eyesight or whatever, it allows me to hit him first. We want to hit him first. And now for probably the most inconsistent trick of this, I think of the whole entire levels. It's not scary. Well, it's scary if you're going for it, but you don't have to go for it. A safer route is just to jump over the bounce pad that I homing attacked and just stomp and take the path below to my right here all the way to the end. It's slowest in the slowest route is take the light speed dash to the rainbow ring. And the slower alternate safe route is about 2 seconds slower. But the rainbow ring route is like 4 to 5 seconds slower than the fast route. So definitely would not recommend these first two. But I'm showcasing the fastest one because this is also kind of a LOTAD. And also, if you're wanting to maybe take this IL, this is the way to do it. We're going to immediately, again, spam homing attack to homing attack the second badnik. And then we're going to hold right and do an empty homing attack. An empty homing attack means we're just not aiming at anything. So we're going to homing attack here across. And then as the camera changes, we're going to aim straight and boost straight into that dash panel. And as we come to this end part, you can boost right when you come off and be at top speed. If you wait a second, it's much easier to control, but you won't be at top speed and it's a lot slower. So what I like to do is that I will boost immediately, and then you can see I'm holding hard to the right as I drift. makes me not slam to the wall. I don't know if that's intentional or not, that you can't slam into the wall while you're boosting, or if it's just something I get really lucky with, but that's what I do in my PB for this stage. It was actually completely accidental when I found it out, and I was like, oh, cool, great. And then you just go all the way to the end with full boost, and that is Arid Sands in 1 minute and 43. Now we're on to the second to last stage of the beginning gauntlet. And boy, is this stage a gatekeeper for those that seek to escape it. We're going to start off just like every other stage, but I'm still going to say it with a perfect start, and we're going to boost. Imitate my boost in movement and drift here that I do. Once I'll come back in once I need to. Okay, so on this incline here, you may be like, oh, I can just run up it. Like, you totally can. You totally can run up the incline. But a faster way to go up this incline is actually to drift. If you're really good, which I was not here, you can actually get a drift bonus by drifting hard enough. And also one that's faster, but two, it really helps with boost management, because I actually don't get enough rings here, which will elaborate what I could have boosted had I done better boost management. But it's totally fine. And we're going to come down to this water here. Now, I'm going to try to rewind that just a little bit to where it's important. I'm going to spam click here. Now, I'm still kind of missing it, but right when we're facing the water and at the very end, it's something that you're going to want to delay. If you do it early, you're just going to boost into the water and you're just going to die. So instead, what we're going to do is wait to the very last second when we're touching the water, and we're going to trick the game into thinking we were on even ground with the water despite diving headfirst into it. We'll actually be able to skip the entirety of this 3D section that we see to the left of us here by boosting across the water. It's called water skip. It's definitely the scariest trick to learn outside of egg warp, I think, because you're literally just throwing yourself perilously to your doom. You're going to do an action chain here, boost down, jump, and you'll just ride this action chain to the vine. Now, here is where I could have boosted if I had better boost management, but I didn't. It's fine. Instead, I do a homing attack, and I can actually do a light speed dash with those rings there, and still get on the rail and be on the right route. Gonna jump, boost, jump over, and homing attack the pulley, stomp, go through. Now we're gonna do another RSG, and we're gonna stomp on that dash panel. You don't have to stomp on the dash panel, but it is a little bit faster. And depending on when you jump from here, so we're gonna jump, we're gonna do island skip. Depending on when you jump, two things can happen. One is that, like me, you could land onto the dash panels. I do. But let's say you're a bit swaggier or you're a bit more competent at the game than I am. You'll actually land a little bit earlier on the island, and you'll get bounced up. And when you get bounced up, it's super fast, and you got to make sure that you're not boosting during it, because then you will die. So instead, wait a second. I usually just wait a second to see which one happens, and then I boost. Usually costs me like a couple frames, but it's nothing too big. But either way, we'll go to the pulley here, stomp, or not stomp, we'll just boost straight down. We'll take this boss fight. I think I did some experimenting with some QSSing and whatnot. I think the fastest way to do this is to take the outside route, which actually makes a lot of sense when we look at the other boss fights, which we'll get to in a bit, or the mini boss fights. And now we're going to come to a bit more of a strange niche setup, but you're going to see as I come to this robot, he's not going to be completely ready. You can see how his spring is facing a little bit to the right. I'm holding up and left. I'm going to homing attack it, hold straight, and then I'm going to hold up into the right because Sonic is facing a little bit to the right here. I'll hold up and to the right, and I'm going to boost before Sonic can actually fully turn his body. And I'm going to jump and stomp right there to skip the Badnik and the Rainbow Ring. And right during this, if you're holding forward, Sonic will just stop running, and he will just fall to his death. So instead, we hold backwards because we're technically facing backwards. And as the camera rotates, we rotate the stick with Sonic. And then we're going to go around. Don't you just love how cameras work in Sonic games, am I right? Boost through here. And now, actually what usually happens is that if you don't hit the wall like how I did, you'll still have your boost. And I do a side step to the right to take this turn and see that that tiki head or the rock head or whatever you want to call it up ahead of us to the left. I usually try to drift right in front of that. With this turn, I hit the wall right next to that. It lines me up perfectly to do an end boost. But because I hit that wall and it canceled my boost, I lost a lot of speed and got thrown off of my timing, so that didn't happen. But I got a good enough boost, and so I was like, whatever. 123 is great. That's like a second behind world record, so not too bad at all. What I usually try to aim for here is like around a 127. And now we move on to Dragon Road. And Dragon Road is my favorite stage. It's the last stage of the gauntlet. And it's so much fun because I think out of all the stages, outside of maybe Windmill Isle 2, this stage is, in my opinion, perfectly designed with Sonic's design in this game. It's so good. It's like chef's kiss. Oh my gosh. But we're going to start this game off like the stage off like every other stage by doing a perfect start. But instead of immediately boosting, we're actually not going to. Instead, we're going to take this dash panel and do a really hard boost to the left, or drift to the left instead, to get that drift bonus. And when we come up to this dash panel here, you see that trail of rings ahead of us. We want to make sure that we get at least 8 rings. If we get less than that, we're going to be screwed, especially if you're a person who likes consistent variables or a person that doesn't like losing time. You're going to not like getting less than that many rings. I'll explain where not to boost in a second here if you don't get enough rings, but let's assume that we did. I actually get 12 here, which is perfect. But it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. And we're going to QSS to the right here, and we're going to jump at the top of this lip of I don't know what it's called, like ledge? I don't know. Whatever it is, the stage. We're going to avoid this bounce pad. The bounce pad's fine. It takes like 3/4 of a second though. And if you're a dirty ILer like I am, individual level runner like I am, that's not okay. So instead we sidestep to the right, jump around this jump or bounce pad, do a homing attack. Now, if you did not manage your boost or didn't get enough rings, you don't want to do a boost buffer here. I don't think you even can if you boosted before. And if you try to do a boost buffer, you'll just fall to your death. So don't do that. Instead, finish the homing attack, and once you're able to boost, you can boost. But instead, if you did get good ring management, got all the rings that you needed, we're going to instead boost buffer, go through this dash panel, and then we're going to QSS here. Now, let's say you're a person that's like, I don't like QSS. I think it's kind of dumb. Well, that's fine. It's cool. You're not going to get optimal time, so that's fine. But for this moment in particular, this is the only place I would say it is required to do, because it's more used as a positioning tool in this section rather than just going fast. So once we get to the end of this road, we're going to stomp down and skip this whole entire, see all these badniks here? That's like a 15-second action chain. And so instead of doing that, we're going to skip all of it, holding slightly up, and we're going to hold up and slightly to the right. We're going to jump, and we're going to hit this badnik here, homing attack across, and then we're going to hold, I hold really hard to the left, and I wait, I would say I wait probably a 1/4 of a second, boost, and then I hold right as I land, because if I'm holding left, I'll actually hit the wall, and it'll cancel my boost. We don't want that. And so instead, I move my stick up to the right, and then I straighten back out as Sonic lands. And right here, just follow my movement, follow my drift, nothing too crazy here. All right, so when we get to this part here, you're gonna notice that as I come across this water, that there's these rings right here, and I missed them. And the reason why I missed them is actually intentional. I missed them because I'm gonna show you the easiest route. Well, maybe, I don't know. This is the easiest, in my opinion, it's the easiest route to do with okay boost management. Getting these rings is really important for good boost management, but if you make a mistake, or let's say that you hit these rings wrong, you actually can miss the trigger to the 2D section, and you lose a lot of time. And so for the sake of simplicity, I opted not to do that, because most of you aren't going to go for super optimal boost management. So I wanted to do the easiest boost management. And that's by boosting through here, missing those rings, get this, and then I go through that dash panel, and as I transition from 3D to 2D, I can actually carry our 3D speed going into the 2D section. And it may not look like much, but I jump here and preserve that speed, and it saves us actually a whole second. which is crazy. But from here on, we are on our own with boost management. So on this loop here, I'm not going to boost. I'm going to hold directly to the right. If we try to loop our stick with it, it's actually going to make us break and we'll just fall to our death. It's all scripted. It just saves a couple frames. And so we're just going to hold right on the stick. I do hold forward and right here on that little scripted section. I don't think it actually impacts anything, but you could do that. You could also just hold directly to the right. It's totally fine. Then we have the QTE, ABA, super quick. And now we're going to land here. And this is where paths diverge in execution. So if you want to do this safe and only lose like a second, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over this spring here. Sorry, I keep on wanting to call it a jump panel. Like, that's not what it's called. We want to jump over the spring here, and we're going to stomp immediately down and go through the rest of the section, as I'll do in a second here. But let's say we don't want to take this section. We don't want to do all of it. So instead, what we're going to do is do a full hop. And we're going to do a full hop. I call this a mid hop because it's a full hop, but we don't hold A, or I guess B, depending on what your controller layout is, long enough in order for Sonic to do his like homing attack or get into ball form as he's jumping. So we're going to do like a mid hop, which is full hop height, but instead we're going to do no attack jump, if that makes any sense. If that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. It's complicated. Trying to explain this briefly, as you can probably tell, is kind of hard because there's a lot going on in this game. But we're gonna land on this loop regardless, and we're gonna want to boost around the midpoint here because if we do it too early, we're gonna be having a jump here, and if we do it too early, the jump will need to be taken pretty high, and that loses us time. And if we do it too late, we'll probably overshoot this dash panel we're gonna land on. So we're gonna jump right here. I barely touch X. I barely touch it. Barely touch jump. And I land on this dash panel. Now, if I had missed it, I would have had to use my boost. It's the only way I could do that without losing time. And that would really have screwed me into Act 3. So we want to make sure that we are landing on that dash panel. And this is where if you gotten those rings and didn't die, you could boost again. Again, I didn't do that. So we just take it as normal. It only cost us, I think it only cost us like maybe not even half a second. So it's not really the biggest time loss in the world. And now you're going to see I'm holding right. So I can get the homing attack prompts for these poles. If I don't hold right, I won't get the homing attack prompts. Yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to do a light speed dash here, still holding right, because if I were to actually neutral stick, because I'm not boosting, I actually need to be holding a direction. We need to make sure that we are holding right until we hit this dash panel here. We're going to boost here, and then we want to go to neutral stick. Please go to neutral stick because it makes this jump so much easier. We're going to jump over this ramp here, right at the end. See it, like right where those two identical pillars facing each other are? That's usually where I jump. We jump right over this ramp into the hoops. We want to make sure that we're doing it, honestly, I would say kind of like egg warp. It's kind of in the same concept vein of thought. You want to be doing it late. If you're going to be doing it, wrong, do it late, because if you do it early, you're just going to fall to your death, and the punishment is really bad on this stage. So we want to make sure that we're not dying. We'll jump through, and we're going to, just like Arid Sands, we're going to buffer a stomp and slide. That's back. And after we get through that trail of rings, we're going to boost and just follow my movement here. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated, nothing really that big. And right here, now, I don't know, I just kind of figured this out because the third act is very interesting. It's a very interesting act because it is so hard with boost management and also this movement here, this little section here, this little strip of land is really hard to figure out how to get consistent drift while you're avoiding the obstacles, and also to make sure you stay on the route. It's super easy to fall off the route here. And so what I usually like to do, before I was kind of just blindly throwing myself into it, but now what I do is that I make sure to hit the rightmost dash panel. I boost through it, do a drift, boost again, so I stay at top speed, do a drift again, and I almost always get the dash panel and I get all those rings. And then from here, it's just pretty easy movement, but we still have one last trick, which is known as the leap of faith. So we're going to dash across. There's a QTE there that we can do, but we can just jump over that gap there and completely avoid it and skip over it. So we're just going to go here. Make sure you get that drift bonus, by the way. Really helps out because we're going to boost right after that trail of rings. And once we come to it, we're going to sidestep or quick step to the left, and we're going to stomp. And we're going to stomp and do the leap of faith. It looks scary, but I promise you it's actually the easiest trick in the game. Just make sure you practice the timing. If you need to do dolphin save state, that's fine. But honestly, it won't take you that long to get down. And boom, that's Dragon Road, my favorite stage in the game. We're now out of what I like to call the gauntlet, and we're now in probably the most iconic stage of the game, which is Rooftop Run. Best music, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Dragon Road still has my heart, but whatever. All the other stages are super difficult because if you die, run's over, essentially, right? Dying on these stages, I think, is honestly near impossible. There are mistakes we can make, and this stage, I would say, because outside of death, right? This stage is the hardest stage with movement. It is super precise, super strict. You can smack your head into a lot of walls, and so it can be really tilting. I will say, be patient with yourself with this stage because it is really tight. I will say this stage is not well designed around Sonic's moveset, but it's still fair. We can still do it, and we can do it quick. So we're going to start out again, just like with all the other stages. We're going to do a perfect start, do a sidestep to the right, and drift to take that super tight. Now, here, I boost again. I usually do a sidestep here, but because I was a little bit too far to the right, I didn't. But I drift in that alley, and right here when I come into this dash panel, you can see Sonic goes a little bit to the left here. I actually got really lucky because usually when this happens, when we hit this dash panel in the way that we do, it launches us too far to the left, and because we're at top speed, we can't move Sonic, and Sonic's inactionable because of the dash panel. It's terrible. And so instead what happens is that we usually just bonk into this wall that's in front of us. But that's not going to happen. We're actually going to hit the dash panel, hit this bounce pad, dash through the rainbow ring, go through the trail of rings, boost, break, do a really tight drift, and then boost as soon as you see those dash panels. I narrowly hit them, but I still hit them, thank goodness. Do some nice movement here. And now when I come down to this dash panel right here, I try to hit between the leftmost and the center left, I guess, dash panels, because I want to make sure I'm hitting at least one of them. Hitting the right ones is fine. It's going to make you take a lot wider of a turn. So I definitely recommend taking the ones on the left. And we're going to take this turn here. And I actually, I've practiced this stage a lot. It's one of my most practiced stages because it's so freaking hard. And there's a lot of stuff in here that is really, it's not inconsistent in terms of mechanics or the game itself. It's just hard to get consistent with your muscle memory. But this turn is one of those things. So I actually go here on reaction. What I would say for this turn is to wait until you see the dash panels and then boost into them. And it's going to take you on this path. Nothing too difficult or hard. Do some drift there. We're going to boost again. Jump over the bounce pad. We're going to do some QSS in this section. Saves us a little bit of time. And a 3150, not too bad. Do some side steps to the left to take this turn a little tight. We went wide, but trust me, you want to make sure you're going to the left instead of the right. It's so much easier on you with boost. And then see where that lip's at, just like with a lot of other places in different stages. We're going to jump off of it, jump across that gap and boost, stomp down. And we're going to see this spring here. We're going to jump right into it. And now we're going to do QSS. I will say this is another instance where QSS I think is necessary for like positioning stuff. And we're going to hold directly to the right as we're on this. And then I see I'm still holding right until right now as I come to these rings, go around, drift, and then right when I see, you can't really see them because of the video resolution, unfortunately, but I can see them. And when you're running this on your CRT or you're running this on your monitor, or God forbid you're running this on an HD TV that's from like 2006 and has a bunch of input latency, I don't want to talk about it. We won't talk about that. But when you're running this, you'll be able to see the robots for sure. And once you can see them, immediately boost, jump, and you get to do one of the coolest tricks in the game. It's not even a trick, it's just a nice action chain. Make sure you miss that second dash panel, by the way. That second dash panel puts you in a weird position, so I try to avoid it. Dash all the way, do some QSS here. And now I'm holding directly to the right on this wall. And see this spring here? That spring's really freaking slow. So instead of taking it, I jump off the wall. And because I'm holding directly to the right, it kind of tricks the game to thinking I'm holding forward. It's a weird thing that's going on. But it gives me the prompt to homing attack this spring here. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you're doing like a full segment run or a single segment run. If you're doing an IL for sure, but it's pretty easy to die here to that trick or also smack into the wall to the right. Fun fact, you can actually do a 3D and 2D glitch with that, if you actually land and stomp and whatnot. I haven't found a way to make that useful. If anyone does find a way to make it useful, that'd be really cool. But we go into this next section here. We're going to land, we're going to boost, and then I usually break and boost again before this trail of rings. Do a jump, neutral stick, jump, stomp, jump, and stomp again into a slide because we have the RSG now because of that rail there. And I'm going to jump, and I'm willing to make sure that this is really important. We need to make sure that we are stomping on the very center of this dash panel. Because when we stomp in the very center of this dash panel, it launches us with insane speed. It's absolutely crucial that we land in the middle, so when we get launched forward, we're going to be bypassing its speed cap that allows us to jump over this wall jump section here. So I'm going to go, boost, and because of the timing, I actually went a little bit too early. I get a pretty bad angle, but we can take that a lot more shallow. And we're going to slide. We're going to jump here. Make sure you do a full hop. You don't want to stomp into this ring. You could, but it would make you lose RSG. So in order to keep RSG to the next section, we just need to do a full hop and fall into this ring. So we fall into it, slide, and now where the most iconic RSG happens, we just slide here. You can imitate some of my jumps here that I do, but it's not the biggest thing. You can just do the RSG. And then we go on this pulley, and to skip this first tower, we just jump off of it and hold directly back and stomp. Well, you can stomp onto this rail. I usually just fall back onto it. And we go across this gap here. It's going to prompt us to homing attack this robot. Instead, do a boost buffer and bounce off this guy's head. There's an invisible wall here that we can actually go around by bouncing off this friend's head, this robot Nick's head, or this bad Nick's head, not robot Nick. Oh my gosh, that just gave me a weird picture. Anyway, but then we're going to hold stomp as we stomp onto this rail, and we're going to jump off of it, and it's going to trick the game into thinking we're actually in another section of the stage, and we're going to go to the very end, and then we're just going to do some QSS through this mini boss area, and there you go. Okay, confession time. I am not good at Windmill Isle 1. This is the only stage that I am just bad at. There's no splits. There's no way of breaking up the stage with save states or anything of the sort. You either do it or you don't. There's nothing complex here. It is just good boost management, good ring gathering, and really good movement. So you can follow my movement up to a point because I am trying to get good at this stage. I'm trying to follow the Taz method. So that's the one I'm going to teach because that's the one I know. And I'll let you know when I diverge in strategy. But from here on, just watch and try to copy my movement. I actually do pretty proficient in the first couple, I would say like 15, 20 seconds. And then after that, it goes downhill from there. Okay, so now here's where I diverge. There's going to be some robots up here. See these robots right in front of us? Oh, we can't really see them. They're right there. These tiny little specks in front of us. Oh, hey, fun. With my name, Specs. Anyway, so dumb. Anyway, but instead of taking this action chain, kind of like what we did in Spagonia, or Rooftop Run, instead what I do is I jump on this little ledge here, of this little part right there. I jump there and I just do another boost. It doesn't really help with action chain stuff or boost management because action chains give us boost. And so it kind of can screw you over. But for IL purposes, and honestly, it is the faster method. It saves like a second and a half. That is the fastest method, especially if you aim correctly, Sonic, into the dash panel there where that robot's standing. That's the fastest way to do it. But of course I didn't do that, but that's the way I'm trying to learn right now. Hopefully I can get it down. And I think you can get like around like a 40. Our world record right now is a 41.99. I'm hoping to at least tie that someday, but whatever. And so then we're going to go over here, just follow my movement again, stomp down, boost. And right here, this is actually where I make a mistake. So I took this turn a little too wide. I want to make sure I'm hitting this dash panel ahead of me. You can totally see that right there. There we go. I took it too wide. I missed the dash panel. You actually take some boost there into that, and it launches you a little bit faster. Go off here, and also you can boost through that and that whole entire section, and allows you to boost into the pulley. But because I didn't do that, I'm just going to homing attack it. Stomp, slide underneath, boost, break, do a drift, go to the end. Nothing too complex. It's just hard to do fast. But a 44 is great. My average is around a 47. So there we go. Now on to the last stage, Windmill Isle 2. We're going to start just like the rest with a perfect start into boost. Do 2 quick steps and then drift to get the drift bonus. And right as you acquire that drift bonus, you're going to hit boost just like I did here. And we're going to do some nice drifting, and then we're going to do a boost buffer to get through this next section here and hit this dash panel into the spring to get to this part of the stage. Do some nice drift. Really, it's about control here and mastering down that control. I did a break into another drift, or into another boost, because boosting later in this stage, or in that little section, the little strip I was on, is really hard. And so I just opt to do it a little bit earlier. Makes this turn better, but it's definitely not optimal. Then just some good movement into the split. Nothing too fancy here. Jump over the ledge, hit the bounce pad, and now you're going to be like, now Spec's going to say boost into the dash panel, right? I know we want to. We want to do it so bad. But let's say you didn't get 90 rings and you're at 89. Well, you're only probably going to have 1 boost gauge left. So what I like to do, and it's actually faster, actually puts you farther onto the loop, and it's the same speed as doing it with a boost. Instead, we're going to homing attack, and it's going to, for some reason, it doesn't lock us to the ground. Instead, it just launches us forward into the loop, and then we'll boost onto the rail. And we're going to do our last instance of RSG here by jumping, stomping, and sliding. Follow my movement there, and then again, just like it's Spagonia, we want to make sure that we're jumping and stomping onto the very center of this dash panel here. I actually missed it, but it's fine. It still worked out because I was at top speed, did a boost, and then jumped over that wall down here, do another boost, and then right as I come up on this lip, I do a slide and then boost again, home or action chain through, homing attack the pulley, and make sure we're neutral stick for this section here. If you're not already doing neutral stick all the time, you know what I mean? Because I've said it a bajillion times at this point. Because we're going to be performing windmill skip, and the way that we do that is by having neutral stick. Because if we were to hold to the right, we'll actually light speed dash through these rings, which we don't want to do, because while we're boosting, we can jump right around here, and then we'll land right on the middle of the dash panel, as I've shown here. I made like free streams of these. I'm so proud of that. And we're gonna be right on the middle of the dash panel, and it's going to launch us at an insane speed because we're already boosting, and it's gonna put us all the way to the QTE here. ABA, always the same. I try to get a boost there, but it usually doesn't work. But if it does, I'm like super excited about it. So instead I just do the light speed dashes, it's fine. And then I just RSG down instead of taking the rings because they're slower. I want to go down to this dash panel, slide down here, do an RSG slide through those robots. It's really fast. And I jump over that dash panel, slide again as we transition into the 3D dash panels. And I'm going to boost at top speed. I hold to the right as I do that so I don't slam into the wall on the left. And then I drift hard left to make sure I don't hit the wall on the right. From here on, just follow my boost, and there's one last trick that I really need to explain, and then I get to explain some boost management, but after that, it's pretty much over. So right here, after that trail of rings I just went through, I'm going to do a break, as you just saw. I'm still at top speed, so I do another boost. And I quick step to the left here, and I'm going to jump as late as I possibly can. And then I'm going to spam boost. And remember, homing attack is still mapped to the boost button. So when I do that without boost buffering, I'm going to do a regular homing attack, which helps me clear this gap distance. And then I boost again, and I get to go all the way across here. Again, just follow my movement. Make sure you're getting as much rings as possible. You want to have a maximized ring count when coming into this last section. And I actually messed this up, and it cost me about 2 seconds since I missed 1 ring in this trail of rings, unfortunately, the one in the very back. And then we're going to do some QSS, spend all of your boost except 1 boost gauge. And I'm gonna do some QSS here. We're gonna get hit once to reset our boost gauge here. When we get back to 90, it's gonna give us a full boost gauge. So we take that hit to get more boost. It also doesn't cost any time. Be on the farthest left outside lip there. It whips you forward for some unknown reason to us. And you really couldn't see it on that one because I think I was QSSing when I wasn't supposed to be. Hit the Badnik twice, or the chaser twice, and then again, looped across, super quick, nice and good. And then we just do some QSS here. There is a skip here we can actually do. No one's done it yet. It requires frame perfect QSSing. But you can actually get the Badnik to die way further out on that ramp, and then with a well-timed jump, you can actually get launched all the way to the very end. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen anyone do it yet, but maybe one day I'll save state it or something like that. And then we just boost in QSS all the way to the end. And look at that. We are now done with all the day stages. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you're a fan of UnWiished content or Statics content, be sure to like this and share it, especially if you know somebody that's wanting to speedrun these games or someone that's frustrated because they can't get an S rank in a stage. I'd really appreciate it. And if you really like my stuff, maybe subscribe. Either way, long live UnWiished, and we'll see you around.